That worked. All right, stand by. These people on the chat board come from all over the United States to be here in the weather place of America, the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. And the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast is brought to you by Tempest by Weatherflow. Get the revolutionary Tempest weather system, and you too can join the fastest growing observing weather network on the planet. The link is on the description of this podcast. And if you use the coupon code Winter2324, you will get.
You'll get 10% off, Joe.
Now, here's America's top meteorologist, TV's big forecaster, Joe and Joe.
Yes.
Oh, I'm in a good mood. I don't know why, but I am. So don't spoil it.
Are you there?
I'm here. Are you there?
Yes,
Good
I'm
evening.
here.
Good evening to everybody on the chat board tonight, and those of you lurking in the background on tonight's Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. Subscribe to my YouTube channel so you don't miss us, although we do have lots of schedule changes this week, don't we, Joe Rayo?
Yes, we do. This is the only night. This is the only normal night this week.
Right. So tomorrow night, we're going to try something, okay? We're going to try something, folks. I don't know if it's going to work. I have it mapped out in my head. I think I can do this, but we're going to try to take Joe's library talk live, okay? So if that works, that will be at 6. That's right, Frank R. That was from Let's Make a Deal. So if it does work, that will be at 6:30 tomorrow night. So we'll start at 6:30 Eastern time. And of course, if by chance it's too early for you, you're not out of bed yet, you can't make it to a 6:30 p.m. show, you can only make it to a 7:30 p.m. show. You can jump in at 7:30 and then just watch it on replay. Okay, we're going to try to do that. If I am not successful, I think I should still be able to record it, and then I'll post it up as a separate YouTube video at either probably after the show is done, and then that'll be that. So that's the plan for tomorrow, everybody. So make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, you lurkers, because if you then you turn your notifications on so you don't miss tomorrow night's show or any future shows, because normally we're on Sunday through Thursday at 7:35, but because of this solar eclipse thing, okay, Joe's
Don't worry,
doing
it'll be all over 2 weeks from now.
right. Joe is doing libraries all across the nation, okay, and around the world. So we are, of course, accommodating the schedule accordingly. So again, to repeat, in case you weren't paying attention, we're going to try to take tomorrow night's library talk. Where is it, Joe?
Tomorrow night's talk
Yeah,
will
yes,
be
Hawthorne,
Haverstraw. Haverstraw.
Haverstraw. I knew it was with an H.
Yes.
So he'll be from the Haverstraw Library, which I think is conveniently located in Haverstraw, New York.
Yes. The Haverstraw Kings and Daughters Library. Believe it or not, that's the
King,
actual name. That's the actual name of the library.
Kings and Daughters.
Yes.
No, no, nothing like. Then there's Queens and Sons,
Not like pins and needles, needles
pins
and
and
pins.
pins.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is the plan. All right. Apparently, there are some issues tonight with Mr. YouTube because I can see the circle of death here going. Mm. I got everything shut off, so it's just me and you right now. I don't have any maps up. Um, Liz, I just, and it might very well be also some local internet issues here because it has been blowing away here all day long. I mean, it's been southeast. We've had gusts up to between 40 and 45 miles an hour since the day began. Uh,
I
so,
know.
uh,
I noticed the gradient was rather tight down your way.
yeah, it is. It is, and it remains so. When you're in the mountains, depending on where you are in the mountains and depending on the wind direction, it can cause a problem. So I'm going to guess that some of this is weather related here in North Georgia. So just jumping ahead a little bit, I was pretty comfortable with the idea that the Wednesday night, Thursday system with the cold front that's going to come through the east and stall out, and you're going to get a wave to develop on it. That wave was going to move north and then get only so far north and then start to slide to the east. I mean, and that was the plan, and that would keep that would keep the heaviest rain. It would avoid another repeat performance of what happened on Saturday. Uh, I'm still kind of going with the idea that it'll just be on a low, quote unquote low end, 3/4 of an inch to an inch, inch and a quarter. But I do have to say I'm a little bit nervous given what the GFS did on the midday run. Although I didn't see a lot of confirmation from some of the other models. But we've there's that, and then on the other hand, everything in the last 5 months has had upside has had upside. So I don't know how you stand on this.
I, you know, and the funny thing is that Thursday is opening day of the baseball season here in New York. And so that's all they've been talking about is, oh, too bad it's gonna rain for opening day. But it's too bad the Mets don't play. I mean, if they're playing in City Field, but too bad they don't play maybe up in Albany, because some of the models are kind of suggesting that this system on Thursday will be more aligned with the coast, and inland spots might miss out. But what do I know? What does anybody know at this point in time?
Yeah. WPC got more bullish as now they have an inch and a half just inland of the coast, and they've got the 2 inch area touching Long Island and into southern and southeastern New England. Um, so I'm just a little concerned that it's just going to wind up being another upside. I don't think this is going to get so much upside that you're going to wind up with 3 or 4 inches of rain all over the place.
I'm,
But
why
but
not?
it
They all
well,
they
I know. I mean, they
part of
all
these
seem to
systems
go that way.
it's been incredible. You look at a system 5 days in advance. Oh, looks like some rain. Well, looks like we'll get a couple of showers. Even yesterday, was it yesterday? Yeah, I think so. Somebody asked me, "Oh, it's all right, so what does it look like for Wednesday and Thursday?" And I said maybe a quarter to a half an inch. And now it's why did I even open up my big mouth? Because the
Well,
way these things have been going.
that's a very good question.
Yeah,
Why did you?
I don't know. I should have just kept my mouth shut and just ignored the question.
Well,
Oh God.
uh, all right. If you like the show, hit the like button because we like to go to 100 likes. I'm going to bring up the first map of the night, which is the watches and warnings map. I'm going to play this down here, so maybe that will uh, will help the cause. And there you have it. Uh, the uh, uh, the storm system in the plains. The number of blizzard warnings have diminished going into this evening, but there's still some up there in northeast Kansas through central Missouri into south central South Dakota. You still have winter storm warnings to the northeast of there, up into central and northern Minnesota. Winter weather advisories are wrapped around it, go all the way down into northwest Texas and northern New Mexico. Meanwhile, across the south, you've got the lower and middle Mississippi Valley eastward into the border of the southern Appalachians there, and even up through the Appalachians. We've got wind advisories up. This has been an ongoing problem since last night, and it continues all day long. And the yellow that you see down in Louisiana, just going to give this a quick refresh. We have a working tornado watch as of 7:47 p.m. Eastern Time from southwest to northeast across that state. And the east right now, everything's pretty quiet. We have coastal flood warnings up for New Jersey down to Delaware because we've got the storm offshore with the onshore flow. The west is fine. And overall today, at least weather-wise, from you down to just north of me, because I was cloudy for most of the day here. It was a fairly decent day. There were some areas that got into some clouds here and there, but for the most part, it was a fairly decent day for you.
It was a gorgeous day. And in fact, I kept saying to myself all through the day today, I said, now why can't it be this way 2 weeks from now? There was hardly a cloud anywhere to be had. Lovely blue sky, brilliant sunshine, and it was wonderful. Even the winds which were so biting and fierce, have diminished considerably. And I stepped outside today and said, hey, this isn't bad. I mean, I overdressed. I've been wearing my winter coat to battle the wind chills that we've had the last couple of days. But today I said, "Hey, this is nice." It really turned out to be a lovely a lovely spring day out there.
Yeah. Now you go. Now the thing is, the question in the next couple of days is, with this onshore flow, and then you've got this front that's going to be approaching. At what point do we start getting into, cloud issues?
Well, yes, the clouds, and especially because, yeah, as you said, the onshore flow and the system offshore, we could very well see more in the way of cloud cover, far more in the way of cloud cover tomorrow. Be a whole different story compared to what we had out there today. Again, because of the fact that we have a coastal nature of the system and also that onshore wind. So, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
It's been the way things have been, in recent. And now, I'm maybe not right in immediately, but I do want to show you the uh, the Climate Prediction Center's outlook for the early part of April. One specific. You said the other day, Joe, this was the pattern that we should have had a month ago for all the snow that
Right? And
was
it was no, and it was nowhere to be found.
right. I wish I had. You know what I wish I had right now? I wish I had one of those. Remember the laughing bag where you push? It's a bag with a little
Yeah, I remember it.
you push on it and it's I
Yes.
hear that. I'm hearing that noise or that sound in looking at the maps, especially for the first few days of April. For all of you who threw in the towel a long time ago and said we'll never see snow around here again. I mean, this is a crazy setup. What can I say?
I know. Brandon Doherty, thank you for hitting super chat tonight. First to bang the tip jar. Happy holidays. Thank you for wishing us happy holidays, and happy holidays to you too, and of course to everybody else watching. This being Holy Week and Easter Sunday coming up, and I don't know what the date for Passover is this year. So
Passover's late this year.
it is okay.
I'm not Jewish, and so I don't really understand the Jewish calendar. To me, it always seemed to me that the first full moon of spring, which is known as the Paschal term, and helps to set up the date of Easter.
Right, it's the
Uh,
first full moon after the vernal equinox.
right. That usually also marks or
Uh,
designates Passover. It does not this year. This year, Passover comes with the next full moon. It'll be in April 22nd, I think.
Right. Rich Rothmansky says April 22nd. David Schwartz says April 20th or so. I like that one. Uh, love you, David. And Vincent Croce said, confirms it's the 22nd. I think the Orthodox Easter is sometime in April also, because that usually happens pretty close to um, when Passover is, because they're on the Julian calendar
Right.
on the Orthodox side.
Not
Okay,
named not named after my grandson, by the way.
or my grandson. All right, here's our satellite loop, and you'll notice this ocean storm that's sitting east of the Virginia coast. It was there last night. It's there today. It's moved and it's gotten stronger, but it's not succeeding in throwing clouds back far enough west. Some of the clouds have made it into southeastern New England out to Cape Cod, and you probably, if you're standing on at Montauk, you might be able to see them on the eastern horizon. But otherwise, it's a nice cutout of clear skies this evening from northern New England down to Virginia. Then you get some high clouds and some blow off from these thunderstorms that are developing ahead of this cold front and this storm system that is continuing to move northeastward from Kansas on northward toward um, Lake Superior, because that's where it's going. And again, we've got some severe weather that has broken out on the southern end of this. We could take a look at what's going on the radar. And by the way, speaking of the east, actually seeing the radar echoes from that ocean storm, still well offshore, southeast of Cape Cod, but it is showing up on this wide radar view. And here is a look at what's going on in Louisiana with that tornado watch. Northeast to southwest, there's one severe thunderstorm warning in play in northeast Louisiana, and then on the Mississippi side as well. Well-defined squall line there that runs from the northeast corner to the southwest corner, only making slow eastward progress. There's another squall line this evening in eastern Arkansas. You can see it there, pretty well defined on the satellite loop, and heavy rains going all the way up. Well, at least it's going to somebody else this time around, uh, all the way up into southern Illinois. Here's your snow in western Kansas and even into parts of northwest Texas and eastern Colorado, continuing up into Nebraska and extending into Minnesota. Not all that impressive, really, well, on the northern end of this, anyhow. Kind of disjointed looking, though, on the radar when you look at it. You got the separate area of snow with the upper low. You've got, the Gulf moisture shooting up in its own little world. Then there's some echoes in the middle. It's not the most, or this is it's a strong storm system, yes, but it's not anything really crazy. It's not a wrapped up animal that's heading up into the northern lakes.
No, and what are you making allusion to? Like, when you say it doesn't seem to be put together right, like it lacks any kind of like teleconnection or.
No, just that the upper low, where the upper low echoes. There's this big dry area in eastern Kansas into western Missouri. There's some showers, a little band of showers in between. Then you get into this big area of rain that's in central and eastern Missouri into Illinois. It's just it's a little disjointed. It's like the upper low's in one spot and not really, connected to all that Gulf moisture that's moving up from south to north.
Yeah, yeah,
As opposed to when you have a really wrapped up system and it's just one big swirl. I guess that's what I'm getting at. You don't quite have that here.
right, right. Well, you take them as they come.
Exactly. Scattered precip out in the west of all sorts, mountain snows and valley rains. Well, here too, nothing all that impressive at the moment. And let's check out what WPC has to say. And we'll use the 5-day map because this is the one and done system. Because after this goes by, we should be fine for the weekend. Overall, still got to deal with maybe some weak system coming through late Saturday, but we'll get to that in a moment. But WPC late today. So now they have the inch and a half in you know, southeastern New Hampshire. Actually, to leave Maine out, half of Maine is getting at least an inch and a half of liquid. The southeastern New Hampshire, central Massachusetts, uh, northwest, just on the edge of northwest Connecticut to just north and west of New York City to just right to about, just north and west of Philadelphia, to just south and east of Washington, D.C. and Baltimore, continuing south from there to about Raleigh, Durham. And you can see this patch here in eastern North Carolina and southeast Virginia of 2.5 to 3 inches, and also in down East Maine, getting into the 2.5 to 3 inch rain. And 2 inch rains kind of cover southeastern New England down to eastern Long Island, and then come back in over the Delmarva Peninsula. So WPC's kind of backed this up westward, this sort of following the trends of what the models have been doing since yesterday. But again, I'm still not going to give up on the idea that this might wind up being I don't know why I'm feeling like this. I should just roll. I should just go with the idea, Joe, that this is going to outperform and just be done with it. But for some reason, when I was looking at everything today, still not, this might be the one time where maybe it doesn't outperform. I may be just hanging myself out to dry with this. I don't know.
I don't know. If it happens often enough, you go with the flow,
Right.
and
Well,
it,
I'm the one that says the trend is your friend.
yeah, yeah. So
Um, oh well. Uh, Precip in the lakes, half inch to an inch. Most places, Ohio Valley, as low as a quarter of an inch, but you do have pockets to a half to three quarters across the south, three quarters of an inch to an inch and a half. And then, of course, the usual, just, and I went out now to 7 days just to show you that from the Baja Peninsula up along the coast all the way up to Washington State, we've got 2 to 3 inches, and there's even one area near Los Angeles where people seem to fall into rivers and get swept away, only to be saved by the police. Um, you have, I don't know if you saw that story today. Some
No, I
some
didn't.
some poor woman fell into one of these. I don't know what they call them, Joe. It- it's sort of like a constructed barrier that runs through a city, and it's kind of a man-made canal to catch all the rainwater, and some woman fell into it or something, and the water in there is moving at like 100 miles an hour, and they're trying to save this. I think they finally did get her out of there. Well, guess what? Several to many inches in some places. If it was, I wouldn't call it a ravine, Christina PD. It looked more like a man-made type canal that they built to evacuate water from heavy rains. That's what I thought it was. Anyhow, in the Sierra Nevadas, we're talking about several inches or more of liquid. Higher elevations, that's probably going to be snow. And we've got, anywhere from a half inch to an inch, inch and a quarter up and down the Rockies, the Wasatch, down into Arizona and Nevada. So pretty wet weather continuing in the western part of the U.S. And as far as snow is concerned, this system is kind of on its last legs here as far as snow goes, still showing some high probabilities of at least 2 inches across Minnesota and northwestern Wisconsin. But you see, it's kind of tapered off some to the south, and I'll just put the probability of at least four, and that shifts a little further north into northeastern Minnesota. Meanwhile, out in the west, some areas in the western half of Colorado, western Wyoming, eastern Idaho, down into central Utah, also up in northern Idaho, the Cascades, the Sierra Nevadas showing high probabilities there for at least 4 inches. And, obviously in the Northeast, I'll bring it back down to two, not a flake, not an ice pellet, nothing. So there. So, would you like to show the Climate Prediction Center stuff now?
Yeah, if you give me the opportunity to
Yeah,
share
I
my.
know, and I know the screen went black. I just had to switch. We'll be up there in a second. Yeah, the sharing is available for your enjoyment and your convenience.
This is the this, believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, is the Climate Prediction Center risk for heavy snow. I'm going to just. Uh,
And
are you ready for this, ladies and gentlemen? This is tonight. This is the forecast that was done this afternoon, April 2nd, which is the day after April Fool's Day, to April 4th. And you can see this broad area, which covers practically the entire Northeast except for the immediate New York area and also Long Island.
no, those train tracks go right over your house.
Yes, I noticed. I noticed that. Notice if you will, in Alaska, where you would expect this late in the season, snow problems, no hazards posted. But here in the Great Lakes, part of the Ohio Valley, and much of the Northeast, they have outlined an area for a slight risk of heavy snow in the Northeast and the Great Lakes for April 2nd to April 4th. Couldn't do it in January. Couldn't do it in February. Couldn't even do it in March. It's April now, and you were absolutely right. Now this is the system. Didn't we touch upon this yesterday? We were looking at it,
Yeah,
saying, wouldn't it be funny if this was the one that brought or delivered a significant snowfall? And look, hey, not too far north of where I am, they got buried over this weekend with
right.
1 to 2 feet of snow.
What
So
what's the date on? When did they make that? When did this come out? Yesterday or today?
this is today. This came out today. Made 3/25. That's today.
Okay, I can't see it. It's
Three
too small.
at 3 p.m. Well,
Oh, at 3 p.m. So they must there. Thank you.
there you go.
I appreciate the large print. Thank you so much. Um,
What happens when you get old, huh?
I guess they went off the overnight guidance. I wasn't especially, I kind of was being sarcastic yesterday. I wasn't especially, I had every belief that when the runs came in overnight and during the day today, that they would have wiped it out. Um, I guess WPC is seeing things a bit differently, which, of course, that's into their bailiwick. They're entitled. They may be watching the Joe and Joe Weather Show in the background and thinking, well, maybe we kind of overplayed it. But we'll see. We'll see what they do with this in the coming days. So in the meantime, as we take a look at the 18Z run of the GFS, which I have not seen. Actually, before we do that, I'm going to bring up SPC because it is a busy night here in the storm for the Storm Prediction Center. And we've got two working tornado watches. It is 8:04 Eastern time, by the way. So if you're watching this live, obviously you're seeing this in real time. But if you're watching this on a replay later tonight, things may have changed. So be sure you go to your local National Weather Service forecast office website to see what's going on if you're living in severe weather land. And you can access that by going to weather.gov. But this is inside an enhanced area of severe weather. You've got now two tornado watch boxes up. It looks like the new one reaches down to just about the north shore of Lake Pontchartrain. It doesn't get into New Orleans, but it goes north of there into north central Mississippi. That's as far north as that gets. And as far as the forecast, here's the overall forecast, so you can see it without the radar echoes. And you also have a marginal risk in western Iowa and western Missouri and extreme eastern Kansas. The tornado risk is 2% up in the northern area and a 10%, 5 to 10% tornado risk across Louisiana, Mississippi, and southeastern Arkansas. So that 10% now is being played inside those two tornado watch boxes that we just looked at. Tomorrow, risk in Indiana, western Ohio, up into Michigan and eastern Illinois. Also on the Florida Panhandle, southwest Georgia, southern Alabama, with this area of slight risk in the westernmost part of the Florida Panhandle to about Mobile. So I think that would probably include Pepsi Cola, and I was in Pepsi Cola last week, Pensacola. And here's the day three. Now this is Wednesday into Thursday, so they have general thunderstorms from North Carolina south to Florida, general thunderstorms across Texas, and nowhere else. So now, like, we can go back to the GFS, and this ocean low that's out there. This is, you mentioned last week about how April is one of the stormier months, if not the stormiest month.
Right.
And one of the reasons is we're at the time of year where you get a lot of blocking that develops. Uh, Not necessarily the kind of blocking that brings big snow, but you get blocking that happens across the Atlantic as the jet stream pattern is breaking down and making its transition. Eventually going from winter to summer. So you get these cutoff lows that form, and this one is doing its job of blocking that plane system from moving east. Instead, it's moving north northeast, and you see it here area of heavy snow. The GFS shows breaking out in right along the Minnesota-Wisconsin border late tonight into tomorrow morning, and then that low goes on its merry way. But the remaining cold front gets here on Wednesday, stalls out, and you get a wave that develops on that front and starts to bulge rain back northward Wednesday night and Thursday. Now, the model on the 12Z run, I want to go back and show this. On the 12Z run today, the model, had the low a little further west and a little deeper, so it kind of bent the heavier rain further back westward before taking the low out straight to the east. The 18Z run, which matches up better with today's European, goes back to the idea of yesterday, where the low just kind of gets to North Carolina and then starts sliding east before it turns northward in the Gulf of Maine. So this might wind up eventually being a big snowfall for Maine sometime later on Friday. But bottom line here is I'm going to stick with my idea, 3/4 of an inch to an inch, maybe a few places further east, a little bit more. I don't know if I want to go above that. If this low winds up tracking more northwest, then we'll have a totally different conversation about this tomorrow.
And that seems to be the story. You know, you talk about totally different conversations because one thing I've noticed in recent days, and probably it'll continue into April, is you look at one set of maps, one set of forecasts, you say, okay, you put it in your mind like, okay, this is how it's going to be, and then the next day, boom, everything is totally different. If
Yeah.
where there was a, you were looking at a ridge, the next day there turns out to be a trough or something along those
Something
lines. You know,
along those lines, sure. And I'm, just show, and I got the upper air on the screen, and you can kind of see where the northern stream and you got the southern stream, and they sort of phase, but they're not in full phase until after the trough axis is fairly close to the coast, and then you form a cutoff in southeastern New England, which is why you wind up with a deepening low in the Gulf of Maine and snow up there. So, you're going to have to get this to phase a little sooner and deepen faster, which would change the whole profile from Wednesday night and Thursday into a heavier rain event. So, we'll see. We're at Monday. I mean, I guess there's still some time for adjustments here with regards to how this upper trough behaves. But I'm going to lean with this slightly more disjointed look, uh, rather than going for something a little bit more robust. And then that lifts out, and there's a little disturbance that's coming down in the flow from the northwest over the weekend, that heads up into New England. And in the meantime, out in the west, you've got a deep system in the upper air anyway off the coast of California that drives down into the southwest with another trough. So we've got that going on. And, just moving this along, we actually get into a ridge position next week, not a strong one, but enough to at least make it dry for a couple of days. And then you got this, cutoff that comes down from the north and takes that southern energy and wraps itself up into, like I said, Joe, something that you'd want to see in January and not now. Uh,
right?
but there you have it. I mean, this is a colder look, uh, going, after we get through a couple of days of next week. We're talking about April 4th, April 5th, April 6th, April 7th. Oh, Joe, look, it's April 8th. Shall we take a look at the 18Z? This is the 336 hour for April 8th. Shall we look at it?
I've been looking, but you can show it now if you'd like.
Well, that's not terrible. It's not terrible. I mean, in the area of totality, uh, where the totality, well, you got some green up there in Plattsburgh, so that's not good. Um, but across the Great Lakes and down to Texas and up and down the Mississippi Valley, if this is right, should be okay. I don't think you want to get on a plane though,
I
or
really
drone.
don't want to go. I really don't want to go to Texas. Texas has already declared a state of emergency for the eclipse. They're telling people they're bringing out the National Guard, and if you're coming to Texas, make sure you have plenty of gas in your car and all kinds of craziness. I really don't need that.
It's the end of the world.
Yeah, exactly.
All
For
right,
sure.
so here's the weekend. Let's give everybody a preview of the Easter weekend. Mountain snows and valley rains just kind of go on and on in the west with these new system coming in. And when we get to Friday, I mean, we should dry out nicely on Friday. Now, here's this disturbance on Saturday. You can see there's this little area of moisture from Minnesota and the lakes that moves southeastward. It's got an area of rain with it. Then the rain falls apart when it reaches the coast. So, I mean, I'm not really overly, concerned about this, other than clouds or maybe a shower. And then there's a cold front that comes through sometime early Sunday morning or Sunday afternoon. That is just dry air to drier air. And then as we move into next week, some of that western energy comes eastward. You see that low
I
gets
like what Mark.
ejected from.
I like what Mark Franz just noted on the chat board. He said it's the 18Z. Throw it away.
We could say that, but you want the 12Z? I'll put the 12Z up. Um, so the 12Z, I mean, I kind of think it takes us to the same place, same outcome.
Uh huh.
That goes out. weak system. Actually, it's even weaker and further south on the 12Z. Easter Sunday's got a little area of rain across West Virginia and Southern Virginia going southeast as high pressure builds down from eastern Canada. Then you've got energy on Monday with a low in Indiana uh, and a low that's probably up back in Wisconsin. The Wisconsin low takes over, so that looks like some rain coming in, maybe some snow up and up, well up into upstate New York and northern New England, but it doesn't look like anything I would, be concerned with. What was the dates on that WP? That was that
April 2 to April 4.
April 2. So
Yeah,
I don't think you're going to get much from the April 2 system if it's going to take a low like this up to the lakes.
right.
Then there's something that goes more western energy. This time around, it moves across the south, and you got a low off North Carolina that moves northeastward, the
And that's
southeast of Cape Cod. So it must be this one, you know, this
the,
one,
the tricky thing is, Joe, that I've been noticing with that system, the system that's coming into like California, like a closed system or whatever, it's
right?
there. Then the next one, it's not there.
It's not there.
You know, what are you going to do with something like that? I mean, like it comes, it goes. It comes, it goes.
You punt.
You punt. Yes.
You punt. They do it in football, and we do it here on the
And
Joe and Joe Weather Show without any shame.
I mean, the system that's going to cross the country about, the third or fourth of next week, if we only had to deal with that system as it plods along and up into New England and then eventually Eastern Canada, if we only had to deal with that system, then, I'd say, it doesn't look all that bad for April the 8th, but they keep coming up with this closed low that suddenly develops and pops up over the Southwest behind that, and that comes gallivanting along, and apparently is coming in for around the 6th, 7th, 8th of April, and that's for this part of the country, and that's not good. I don't really. It's too early. A few people have asked me, what am I doing and where am I going? I said, hopefully, he said, hopefully by Easter, by this coming Sunday, the pattern will be enough so that I can make some sense out of it and make a decision as to where I'm going to ultimately end up. But right now, it's a mishmash. It's you look too many maps to look at, too many maps, too many solutions, and I got a headache.
That's how I often feel in the wintertime. Make that proclamation about having a headache. I totally understand that.
I know if you're a fisherman, you probably would say I have a haddock, but that's yeah.
Oh, good God, no. All right. Let's do a little Briller Jeopardy here. I'm trying to do a few things technically so that everything is working according to the way it should. I'm practicing for tomorrow, taking the live stream from the library. And we'll see how that plays. Um, oh, I should mention, by the way, for those of you who are looking for solar glasses, if you go to today's Weather in 5 video, after the show is done, uh, if you look on the lower left, there's a link to available products, and it will take you to three solar eclipse glasses that are available at Walmart. There's the cheap one, the not so cheap one, and the slightly costlier one that comes with an app for your smartphone. So if you are interested or you're looking for glasses for the eclipse, check the Weather in 5 video that I put up this afternoon. And again, go to the lower left and click on uh, products for
And
the solar eclipse glasses.
if your library, most libraries, I will say, there was a grant. A lot of money went into this grant to supply libraries, as many as they could across the country, especially here in the East, with solar eclipse glasses. Where you should be able to just go to your library, show them your library card, and you'll get a free pair of eclipse solar glasses. So that is uh, that is the story on glasses. And Brandon Doherty is telling you, Joe Chiaffi, tell Joe Orr the lunar eclipse wasn't that impressive. The brightness did dim on the moon, but nothing to write home about. I do believe I said yesterday it was an underwhelming event. I got up at I was up at 3:12 this morning and took a look just to make sure that you know the celestial gears were still turning, and that yeah, you look carefully, you could see it looked a little dimmer on the bottom of the moon as it was passing into the penumbral shadow. But to me, I had to do that just to make sure that everything is going on schedule. And now, in less than 2 weeks, here comes the big event, the solar eclipse. So we'll hopefully hopefully we'll be able to work something out with the weather gods and get some fine weather in here. Like I said, I kept walking around today outside and saying, God, please, can you make it like this in 2 weeks? Can we have a day like this in 2 weeks? Uh, we've suffered so much. I've been telling some of my solar eclipse buddies, I said, we've had such crappy weather the last month or two. I said, we're getting it all out of the way so that April the 8th will be glorious for all of us. So we'll see. Keith James II, no, no, magnetic storm will not result in northern lights. You obviously were not on yesterday. We had the magnetic storm. It hit the Earth during the daytime yesterday when you can't see aurora, and then it very quickly shriveled up and diminished into the dark last night. So get it out of your mind. There's no magnetic storm, no northern lights, and as
And that's all there is to it.
I've been saying innumerable times, every time we have a chance at the Northern Lights and something comes along to screw us over, I always say the same thing: wait till next time. And that I'll
Right.
say to uh, Keith James II, wait till next time.
All right. So, Briller Jeopardy time. Um, Thank you, Scott Briller, for sending this along, and big highs to Mother Briller, who is recovering quite well from what Scott has told me, and we wish them both the best. So we continue this um, snowfall average for the month of March, Joe, and we will begin tonight with Rochester, New York. One of these days he's going to put Rochester, Minnesota, just to make me happy. But Rochester, New York, is our first city tonight. The average snowfall for the month of March.
Okay, and Rochester, by the way, one of the lucky cities that will be near the center of the total eclipse path. And Lonnie Quinn, by the way, he sent me an email.
We're very
Uh,
close.
and he said, "Hey Joe, you going to Rochester for the eclipse?" He said, we get together, we can do a lot of stuff, like we did a few years ago." And I said, "No, Lonnie, I'm not going to Rochester. I'm going to Syracuse, or I'm going to Plattsburgh,
Plattsburgh.
or maybe I'm going to Dallas or Little Rock, or if it's cloudy that day up along the entire eclipse path, I'll be going to hell." That's basically the story. Rochester, how about 8 inches, Joe, for March of snow?
Oh, lordy doo dee do dee doo dee do dee doo dee doo dee do. Not even close. But we do have a winner on the chat board, and that's Brandon Grablichoff, who guessed it correctly. It's 18. Also, Jason Schaefer got 18, and
Wow.
Lord Kate first runner up at 17. So 18, and Carol DeCara also first runner up at 17. So that's for Rochester. So let's go to Providence, Rhode Island. Providence.
Provincia. How about uh, how about 5?
Oh, it's Snake Country, Josephs. You made up for the gap for Rochester, and you're very close for Providence.
How about 6?
Um, Threes. How about six? As Mark France Sr. has gotten six too. Mark France Sr., say hi to Mark France Jr. for me. Six is the correct answer. Maggie P., Brandon Grablichoff, all in that neighborhood. So that's good. The next one is Salt Lake City.
Oh God, Salt Lake City. It's probably March. I'm not off the top of my head. I'll probably say March is probably the big month for snow. So that having been said, I'll say uh, I'll say 16.
Oh, dee doo dee doo dee doo dee doo dee doo dee doo doo dee doo dee doo doo dee doo dee doo.
Are you auditioning for?
No, I'm not. Um, Patrick Darcy. See now, I can't tell. A bunch of people have put up six. and I can't tell if it's from the one before or the one afterwards. Salt Lake City is 6 for the month of March.
Wow.
Do we put it in inquiry for that? I can't imagine. I'm sure it's right. It's kind of weird out there in the West because of the fact that their big months are outside of the main part of the winter season on the one hand, and then some areas is it's plenty, and some areas they have the shadow effect with the mountains and it's desert. They don't get very much. So he's got 6 here. St. Louis,
By the
St.
way,
Louis.
Jason Croce, by the way, on the chat board says you hit the rum candy again.
Yes, I did. St. Louis, Missouri.
St. Louis, St. Louis. Um, hmm, 4.
Eh, but you're close on this one. Chuck Cardillo's in Snake Country at 3. And Maggie P gets it, and Helen Bertona and Patrick Darcy all get it at 2.
No. Oh,
Okay. And Washington, D.C.
oh well, Washington. I'll say 2 for Washington, if they have that much.
You can ring the bell for yourself.
Oh, thank you. Hello. Whoopie.
Okay. And finally, as the bonus question, which is always, the one that tricks everybody, Flagstaff,
Oh God.
Arizona.
Flagstaff. Flagstaff. Well, Flagstaff. Flagstaff might be the one with 17.
Is that your final answer?
Yeah, that's my final answer.
So close. So very close.
Oh,
Um, Chuck Cardillo nailed it though at 16. 16.
wow.
So very close. We could even do our own version of the clock game.
Yeah.
I always liked it because every once in a while you'd get somebody that would not paying attention to Bob Barker saying higher or lower. So he would say lower, and then they would keep going higher, and Bob would have to stop the game
Right.
because
Right.
they're not listening or they're too nervous to listen. It's just the way it is, folks.
If you have nothing to do and there's nothing on television and you're really bored, you can always go on YouTube and look at some of the great Bob Barker moments on Truth on I was going to say Truth or Consequences. Boy, I tell you, there you go. That
Well,
shows
there were
Bob.
some odd moments on that show too.
Yeah, yeah, but there are a lot of funny moments on Price is Right with Bob Barker.
Yes, exactly. All right, I got nothing left to say. Do you have anything left to say?
No, I hope everything works out for tomorrow night. Again, you'll be able to see me in action as to what I've been doing for the past month with all of these. This will be an actual library that I'll be giving a talk to or for, and I don't understand though how this is all going to be arranged, Joe, because the library director got back to me. I don't know if you saw the email
Yeah, I
that she
saw them.
maximum limit of 125, but
All I need to do is be all I need to be is one of those 125 people.
yes,
So, as soon as I don't know what time they're going to open it up to everybody, but as soon as they do, I'll just get in there, and assuming that I do, um, then I take it from there. So it won't prevent anybody else from not getting in.
okay,
It's just me. So, and again, the plan is, folks, the plan is that tomorrow night at 6:30 that we'll be broadcasting Joe's library talk from Havistraw Library, Kings and Sons, was it, or Kings and Daughters?
daughters,
Kings and Daughters Library in Havistraw, New York. That we'll be broadcasting it here at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time.
yes,
Keep your fingers crossed that I can pull this off. All right.
okay,
Joe and Joe Weather Show tonight, as it is every night, brought to you by our affiliate Tempest by Weatherflow. Get the revolutionary Tempest weather system. Join the fastest growing observing weather network on the planet. The link is pinned to the description of this podcast. Use the coupon code WINTER2324. If you do, you'll get.
you'll get 10% off.
All right. So, everybody have a great night, and we'll Hopefully see you at 6:30 p.m. On Tuesday. Bye bye.
Okay.